You're listening to the Jefferson Exchange. I'm Mike Green. Today we're shining an international spotlight on Northern California's Redwood Coast. Just recently at the 13th Annual Location Managers Guild International Awards in Santa Monica, a small local office made major waves in the entertainment industry. The Humboldt-Del Norte Film Commission took home the prestigious award for Outstanding Film Commission for their incredible work on the film One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. To put that into perspective, this Northern California commission beat out massive global filming hubs, including London, Colombia, New York, New Jersey, and others. Joining us today to talk about this monumental win, the groundwork that went into it, and what it means for the future of film on the Northern California coast is Cassandra Hesseltine. Cassandra has served as the Humboldt-Del Norte Film Commissioner since 2010. She's an alum of Cal Poly Humboldt University and currently serves as the president of Film Liaisons in California statewide. Cassandra, congratulations and welcome to the Exchange.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I'm just so honored. I can't even believe that I won the award or that we won the award.
Well, take us back to that night in Santa Monica when you received the award. Describe the scene.
Well, it was amazing because it's all these people that we work with, that we look up to, location managers and their teams, people who do, big projects, and we're always so excited to see them. And I was just happy to be there, to be, part of this whole thing. And I'm sitting there with the location team from One Battle After Another. They had placed me. You get placed as a finalist, with the other finalists, and they were up also for an award, which they also won. And we're sitting there together, and they start going through our category and saying which each film commission has done, and showed a reel and showed like these incredible locations and projects that filmed at these places. And I thought to myself, there's no way I beat out like Colombia, there's no way I beat London, and I'm like, no, this is amazing. I'm just we're lucky to be a finalist. And then they said it. They said Humboldt. I was in shock. I think my jaw dropped, and the location team started slapping my shoulders and saying, "Get up, go on stage, go get your award." So it was one of those moments where I just didn't see it coming. It was pretty exciting.
It sounds like an indelible mark in your memory.
Yes, for sure.
Well, why does having this specific group of peers recognize your office mean so much?
These are the people we work with. So this is usually when a project happens, especially if it's a feature film, producers, the director, they all get together and they talk about, what is the look of the film and what do they want? And they then will send a location manager or scout out to go find this artistic location that helps tell that story. But then they also have to know that artistically it might look amazing, on screen, but is there a base camp near there? Is there, offices? How easy is it to be accessible? And all of those moving parts that go with it. So it's very right brain, left brain, kind of thing that the location team has to do. So when they are, on location, and they might not know the area, or it's a new project that maybe they filmed there before, but new items that they need, they reach out to the film commission, whether it's a smaller office like ours, or it's a state, country, and they then say, this is what our needs are artistically, but we are the ones that know they also need all the other parts, all behind the camera, all the things. And so for them to say that we did that job and did it so well that they gave us the award just blew our minds, because I just do what I think is necessary. And, I did work in film prior, so I worked on really small budgets. I was a line producer. I needed film commissioners. And so I just give back to them what I know I needed. And they seem to think that it's beyond. So I'm pretty ecstatic by that.
Well, it sounds amazing. I know that many people think a film crew just shows up, but there's a lot of pre-work that goes into that process, right?
Yeah, for One Battle, this is probably the longest pre-work that I ever had. My first meeting was in 2019, pre-COVID, and then we didn't film till January of 2024. So it was a minute of, doing scout trips with them and communication and talking and finding the things that they needed over time. I mean, PTA went and made another movie in between that time, but it was a long set of meetings and collaborating and making sure that we had what they needed, and when they were going to come, could we fulfill all of that? And and that's always the goal. You don't know if they're not here till they're here. So it doesn't matter how long you talk to them till they're filming. We're never 100% sure that they're going to film here.
Well, before filming even began, the film's location team, who you said also won an award for outstanding locations, they hosted a dinner with local agencies. How did that develop mutual trust and respect?
Yeah, that was the first time I had a project do that. They had asked for a few locations and things that they wanted to do that were a little bit not our normal in a big city, just not in our area. Usually productions are hidden in a redwood grove somewhere and people are trying to find them. But they wanted to do a few scenes, including the payphone scene, the famous payphone scene where Leonardo DiCaprio is on the payphone and can't remember the password. And these cars were going to go by really fast, and with sirens. And so we knew the community wasn't going to be used to that. And so they said, let's do this dinner where we take them all out and say, these are going to be the types of things we're going to do. We want to give you a heads up. So we had chief of police, we had the sheriffs, we had, everybody was notified to come. And it was really great to have, city managers and board supervisors and anybody that could come and understand what they were going to do and ask of our community. And so they felt like they were being honored to hear that information ahead of time so that then they can deal with if they get the phone calls or how do they strategize on telling the community there's not really a big chase happening. That's a film.
Yeah, smart move. My guest is Cassandra Hesseltine. She's the Humboldt-Del Norte Film Commissioner and winner of the 2026 LMGI Award for Outstanding Film Commission. So, Cassandra, let's talk about hard numbers. I think this single production brought in more than $2 million in local spending. Tell me about that.
It did. And it did it in a time, when hotels and, restaurants are usually at their lowest, January, right? So, that's the hardest month of the year for any business. And so it's utterly amazing that when they spent $2.1 million in January, it's different. It hits different than when you do it in July and we're already impacted by, tourists, so it's absolutely incredible. And then when you add the multiplier, it feels more like $6 million because you've got a whole crew, a couple hundred that don't get dinner on set usually. And so they all have to go out to eat. They might have a day off. There's different shopping they'll do that's outside of that number. That's not in that $2.1 million that they spent. And so, yeah, it really is impactful, especially during winter, especially in a rural area, with a depressed economy. It's extremely helpful.
So when you talk about vendors and you talk about people that were hired, what do those numbers look like?
Yeah, they hired over 990 people, individually. And then they also used over 90 vendors, local vendors. So those are big numbers, again, in January, So, yeah, it can make someone's winter.
Well, beyond this single project, how does this international recognition translate to long-term economic stability for the North Coast?
Yeah, I think it gives faith in us, as we have beautiful locations. There's no doubt for that. And everyone always wants to film, in our area. I've had a couple of different big location managers try to bring big projects, and I think in this case, it's going to help, up those numbers and maybe even seal the deal a little bit better because they're going to say, look, they go above and beyond. They're going to help us artistically, but also behind the scenes with all the logistics. We're going to save money when you get someone like that. When you get that kind of team behind you, that actually helps you save money versus, more spending. So I think our numbers are going to increase. I know my LinkedIn has gone off, with lots of, requests to be friends on LinkedIn and, have received many congratulations from, a lot of people in the industry. So it's a pretty amazing, badge to be able to wear, and it instills confidence in future projects for sure.
Well, one of the things that you were mentioning, that this happened in the winter, there's a story that you've told about an emotional moment during filming where a resident expressed how much seeing the production helped lift them out of a winter depression.
Yeah, I love what I do. I wanted to work in film since I was 5, and I love storytelling. I do theater and film. And so for me, I know what it emotionally does for me. But when I took this job, which was supposed to be actually just filling in for a couple of weeks, which has turned into 15 years later, I realized, along the way that it wasn't just about economic development, outside dollars. Super important. It wasn't just about job creation, like I just mentioned, all those local hires, but those are super important. Now it's moved on to quality of life and inspiration and bringing something that seems so far away to a community, that you too could work in film, and or just getting to watch something like that, getting to, fulfill you. So this local approached me. We were in a very visible area in Arcata, across from the university, Cal Poly, Humboldt, and a local approached me. And you never know which way it's going to go. Is this person upset that they couldn't park in front of their apartment because of filming for that day, or they, coming in excited to see what's going on? And this local, I remember it was a female, came up to me and started chatting with me and said, I'm one of the people can't park in front of my apartment today. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for understanding. And she goes, no. I was so severely depressed this winter, and like abnormally depressed for what was going on in her life. And she said, and then I found out Leonardo DiCaprio was going to be filming right across the street. And she goes, and something just changed in me, and it brought tears, to my eyes because, I never know how people are going to take it, especially so far away from Hollywood. And we hope that they're going to understand what we're doing is for the good. But that was beyond, for me to hear someone feel inspired for a second and be excited.
That's an amazing story. You've also credited the local community's willingness to open doors and process the permits really quick as a reason that your office could win this award.
Absolutely. When I took this job, one of the things that I realized is a lot of people didn't realize what a film commission was. They kept asking me phone commission, and I had to look it up. I got that so many times. There is no phone commission. And so having people understand how to be film friendly and what we do and why we do it, that became our first campaign. The first year that I was film commissioner was to teach our locals why it's necessary. And I think that now, 15 years later, I see that it worked because for the most part, people are excited to move whatever we ask them to move for a minute, or answer strange questions, or, when I say, hey, a film crew is going to be here, but it'll be okay. They are really, amazing at opening the door and being like, yeah, we're film friendly. Thank you for being here. It's great. It makes it a lot easier for us when productions do come to town. Doesn't mean we don't hold standards. We do when productions come to town, but now it's both sides can be happy. So it's really helpful.
Okay, we've got about a minute left. In addition to your local role, you serve as the president of Film Liaisons in California statewide. Now, I know that California is working hard to retain and attract film production in the face of, a lot of global incentives.
Exactly.
So how does this major win for the Redwood Coast help push forward the statewide mission?
Yeah, one battle filmed in over 9 different locations from San Diego, up to Sacramento, all the way up to Humboldt. So, that was a huge win when that location team won, when they won the Oscars for that movie, because it was mostly filmed throughout California, a little bit in Texas. And then us winning this now too, it really sets the tone of, California is still here to stay and we're ready to play. We know we're up against over 150 different other world tax incentives in film, but, we're still here and we still want production to come to us. So we're fighting for that.
So how can people learn more about the Film Commission and the work that you do?
Yeah, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Film Humboldt-DN for Del Norte, the other county we represent. And you can find us at H as in Humboldt, DN as in Del Norte, FC as in filmcommission.org.
Okay, we're out of time, but that was a great story. Thanks, Cassandra.
Thank you, Mike.
And congratulations.
Appreciate it.